Look at this map of India. When you isolate the top 10 state economies, you get a combined GDP of over $3 trillion. But treating this space as a single, unified market is a massive mistake for any company. The reality is that these regions operate much more like independent, highly specialized countries. Deploying capital here means you aren't really investing in India. You are buying into a specific, localized set of tax policies, labor pools, and regional infrastructure. If you want a successful entry strategy, you have to ignore the general macroeconomic hype and focus strictly on geographical alignment. Deciding exactly where to deploy capital or break ground on a new facility causes instant paralysis for a lot of allocators. If you drop a software startup into a zone built for heavy manufacturing, you will immediately hit a wall trying to recruit specialized engineers. The way to solve this is through a scenario match, looking directly at the inputs your specific industry requires and finding the state ecosystem already engineered to provide them. This photograph shows Maharashtra's dense coastal skyline. It sits at the peak of India's economic scale, generating $556 billion. But carrying the heaviest financial weight doesn't automatically make it the right location for your operation. Finding actual return on investment requires looking past the top-line GDP rankings and filtering strictly for sector alignment. This matrix breaks down the major industry clusters. If you look at the digital and IT row, two states clearly dominate the infrastructure: Karnataka at $344 billion and Telangana at $207 billion. Placing your operations here plugs you directly into the highest concentration of venture capital and software ecosystems in the country. You can see the result in images like this: massive enterprise-scale tech parks designed specifically to house multinational software operations. There is a clear trade-off. You are entering a highly saturated market where real estate premiums and daily operational costs reflect the intense demand. What you are paying for is the labor force, a highly specific pool of engineers trained for software exports, aerospace, and biotechnology. This research laboratory illustrates the point perfectly. If your company requires specialized clinical talent, these specific hubs have the human capital already in place. These states give digital firms the highest possible velocity for scaling, as long as your balance sheet can absorb the upfront entry premiums. Let's update the matrix. Moving to heavy manufacturing and physical supply chains, the old guard takes over: Maharashtra, Gujarat, and Tamil Nadu. This sprawling petrochemical complex in Gujarat highlights the massive legacy investment required to build out heavy energy infrastructure. Setting up here gives manufacturers immediate, frictionless access to deep-water ports and decades-old established supply lines. You also gain access to highly mature, automated assembly lines, particularly in sectors like automobiles and advanced electronics. The downside is that you have to battle entrenched domestic monopolies for resources, requiring heavy upfront capital just to establish a foothold. For companies looking to avoid those premium costs, Uttar Pradesh and West Bengal offer high-growth, lower-cost alternatives. Targeting these inland regions allows you to scale domestic electronics or logistics operations rapidly by tapping into a massive, newly mobilized human labor pool. The choice comes down to this: pay for immediate, legacy infrastructure on the coast, or build proprietary networks inland for aggressive, long-term growth. The final cluster of states, Rajasthan, Andhra Pradesh, and Madhya Pradesh, is optimized for physical land scale and natural resources. Looking at this aerial view, the sheer square footage available makes these regions highly lucrative for utility-scale renewable energy installations. This infrastructure also connects high-yield agricultural outputs directly to specialized export ports, streamlining global raw material shipments. However, these areas lack meaningful crossover into high-end financial services or advanced software engineering talent. If your business relies on high-volume, land-intensive production, these states are ideal, but they will isolate your operations from standard corporate white-collar talent pools. Picking a state based strictly on total GDP is a strategic error. Ask, what is your primary investment vehicle? Software routes to Karnataka and Telangana. Heavy manufacturing needs Gujarat, Maharashtra, or Tamil Nadu. For domestic scale, the data points to Uttar Pradesh. Your optimal regional choice depends entirely on matching your corporate DNA to the state's proven, specialized outputs. India's $3 trillion economic baseline among its top tier is a factual reality, but it is deeply fragmented. Buying into the macro hype of the country as a whole will leave you misallocated. You have to rigorously evaluate the individual parts. True return on investment in this market relies exclusively on precise sectoral and geographic alignment.